March 5th, 1969. The launch pad at Cape Kennedy is silent, except for the hum of a beast sleeping beneath metal skin, the Saturn V rocket, standing 363 feet tall. In just a few hours, it'll carry Apollo 9 into Earth's orbit, a symbol of American dominance, precision, power. But behind the scenes, NASA is panicking because one of the key contributors to this multi-billion-dollar machine shouldn't even be here. He had no ID, no degree, no military clearance, and no past. So how did he get in? How did he fool the most powerful space agency in the world? This is the true story of the genius who tricked NASA. April 14th, 1965. A humid morning in Huntsville, Alabama. The kind where the air feels heavy and everything moves just a little slower. At precisely 7:42 a.m., a man steps off a Greyhound bus wearing a brown trench coat and carrying a dented metal case. He walks past the old Saturn cafe, nods at a mechanic outside a gas station, and quietly disappears into the crowd. No one notices. No one remembers his name, but in less than a week, he will be inside one of the most secure aerospace facilities in the world, NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. His name? Arthur. Or at least, that's what he called himself. He didn't come with a resume. He didn't bring a letter of recommendation. What he brought instead was a thick stack of hand-drawn blueprints, jet propulsion designs, mathematical formulas scribbled in fading pencil, and a kind of quiet intensity that made people lean in when he spoke. He walked into the offices of Rocketdyne, one of NASA's top propulsion contractors, and calmly asked to speak to the chief engineer. The secretary asked if he had an appointment. He didn't. She asked where he was from. He said everywhere, but lately, Chicago. The chief engineer, curious and already behind on the project, agreed to give him 5 minutes. 5 minutes turned into 45. By the end of it, Arthur had corrected 3 design errors on their current project. Errors that had cost the company over $50,000 in testing failures. When asked where he'd studied, Arthur shrugged. Mostly the library, and a bit in the field. You learn faster when rockets explode. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't laughing. The team didn't know what to make of him. He was quiet, precise, borderline obsessive. He wrote with a fountain pen, didn't drink coffee, and every morning he arrived an hour before anyone else, standing at the front gate with a folded newspaper and a pencil tucked behind his ear. He didn't just want a job. He wanted access to their labs, to their equipment, to the data. And for reasons that no one could explain, they gave it to him. No background check, no phone call to references, no college transcript. Just a man, a briefcase full of brilliant ideas, and a mystery nobody wanted to solve. By August 1966, Arthur wasn't just in the building. He was in the engine room, the math labs, the testing bays, the heart of Apollo. Officially, he was listed as a contract design consultant. Unofficially, he was their secret weapon. He submitted a plan for liquid fuel stabilization that was so intricate, the head of propulsion said it looked like something written by von Braun himself.
But it worked. It reduced fuel slosh during stage separation by 17%, preventing potential catastrophic drift. His tweaks weren't flashy, they weren't loud, but they mattered. And that's when people started asking, who is this guy? And more importantly, why is he never in the official meetings? A junior engineer once followed Arthur into the library at 7 p.m. He watched him pull 3 old Soviet rocketry manuals off the shelf, then go outside and burn them in a trash barrel. He didn't explain. He just said, "There's some things that don't belong on paper." By September, people noticed he didn't have a badge number, no paper trail, no security clearance. But still, no one stopped him, because everything he touched worked.
In November 1967, an internal audit flagged Arthur's profile. It started small. His address was invalid. His tax forms were signed in a handwriting that didn't match. But what caught their attention was this. His social security number was created in 1965, just 2 weeks before he showed up at NASA. That triggered an investigation by Security Division 3, a department that almost no one at the agency even knew existed. They checked every database, every archive. They even reached out to the Department of Defense. Nothing. No high school records, no fingerprints in military files, not even a library card. Arthur didn't exist before 1965. Then came the biggest shock. A whistleblower, an ex-janitor from Milwaukee, stepped forward with a photo. It was Arthur, 6 years earlier, wearing a maintenance uniform. The janitor said he used to sweep floors at the Science Museum, but every night he stayed after hours, reading the exhibits, writing notes, like he was studying. And the handwriting, a perfect match. By early 1968, NASA leadership had a problem. Arthur had committed identity fraud and gained access to classified systems. But if they exposed him, they'd be forced to admit that a civilian janitor had helped build the Saturn V, and even worse, that his designs had been integrated into the launch systems. They held a private meeting. Present, 2 security officers, 3 directors, and a lawyer from the US Air Force. The decision? Bury it. They quietly revoked his access badge, escorted him out of the building. No press release, no charges, just silence. But they didn't destroy his work, because they couldn't. His notes, even the handwritten ones, were so accurate that 2 of his formulas were directly used in the Apollo 11 systems. They left his legacy in the rocket, but erased him from the story. For nearly 15 years, Arthur vanished, but in 1983, someone spotted him in a small town in Montana, running a tiny garage, teaching night classes in physics, unofficially, to local kids. When asked about NASA, he would just smile and say, "Some engines are too big for some rooms." He never published, never spoke to press, never bragged. He died in 1994. No family, no funeral, but buried in one of his desk drawers was a single note, written in pencil, folded 3 times and labeled, "To whoever's still watching the sky." Inside, it read, "I never needed to be part of the launch. I just needed to make sure it didn't fall." Arthur didn't just trick NASA. He exposed a weakness we rarely admit exists. That credentials are not the same as capability. That a man with a mop can still reshape the stars. That genius doesn't ask for permission. And the greatest minds of our time, they might not be behind podiums or in textbooks. They might be hidden, waiting, watching, and sometimes they just walk through the door with a stack of paper and change history.